I would now request the Chairman Emeritus of our Health Committee, Dr. Amit Ghosh, to be on the dais. I also request our Vice President, Mr. Debe Mukherjee, to come up to the dais. Audience, we would require a little cooperation. Can we request all of you to take your seats? We are starting our inaugural ceremony, so please come and take your seats. May I now request my chamber colleagues to escort Dr. Shukumar Mukherjee, Senior Physician and Chairman, GD Hospitals and Diabetes Institute, to be on the dais. May I request my chamber colleague to escort Mr. Pulak Chamaria, Director, Infinity Infotech Parks Limited, to be on the dais. Thank you. May I request everybody to please take your seats and settle down. We are waiting for you to begin our inaugural session. I would like to invite Mr. Debe Mukherjee, Vice President, Bengal Chamber, to give a formal welcome address to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shukanna. A very, very good morning to all of you. What a wonderful gathering. And I think right at the outset, a huge thank you to Dr. Amit Ghosh. I know it's quite inappropriate to start like this, but I think Amit's initiative, the leadership qualities, indeed very commendable. Thank you, Amit, for this lovely initiative, and particularly grateful to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for turning out in such huge numbers. May I, on behalf of Bengal Chamber, extend a very warm welcome to you, and I hope today's deliberations and proceedings will be an eye-opener and certainly will chart a way forward for a subject which I think is very appropriately timed and contextualized in today's scenario. The subject of elderly care, and very appropriately captioned as royal aging, I think has been very thoughtfully done. The concept of elderly care has to be seen from multiple perspectives. And certainly to my mind, there are three perspectives that we could put in place: the societal perspective, the economic perspective, and most importantly, the perspective from the beneficiary's point of view. We are going through a huge transition, disruptive transition in every sense of the term, and is affecting our way of life. And the so-called elderly are not spared in this process. Whether we embrace it or we shun it, if we embrace it, so much better. If we shun it, we are isolated. And that's not a very heartening thing to happen. We are today talking about Industry 4.0 standard. The other day, a very eminent speaker talked about Education 4.0 standard. And possibly now we are going to talk about societal 4.0 standard. Social media, automation, artificial intelligence, cloud computing is invading the world and is touching at every point in our life. And as I said, the elders are not spared. So how do we connect in an inclusive manner the elderly people into the mainstream of this change and not feel isolated from the disruptions that are taking place? Which leads me to the second perspective, the economic perspective. Today, an interesting scenario is about jobs, economic betterment of our people, and everyone is talking about jobs. The specter, again, given the background of what somebody said as SMAC, social media, automation, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, the SMAC concept. Given this background, we see a specter of jobless growth. Certainly that stares us in the face. How can we turn this challenge into an opportunity? How can we bring in caregiving, whether it is assisted living, whether it is home care, whether it is institutional care? How can this come into the mainstream and become a profession? And that could provide, certainly to my mind, countless jobs. So there is an economic angle to it all. And of course, finally, the beneficiary's perspective. Now, the beneficiary, we often, in this again changing scenario, the recognition of old age, elderly people. And today, I'm so happy the way the whole program has been crafted has been done so thoughtfully. In the evening session, I understand we would be felicitating, recognizing the contributions and felicitating some of our great leaders of society who just happen to be elderly. We all will go through that process. We will all come to that process. So it is an inevitable part of life. So that is a befitting end and sends a very strong message to all of us that the elderly are the royals and they deserve, and for right reasons, the due respect and inclusiveness in the mainstream of the society and of our day-to-day living. I wish the deliberations of today a huge success, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of takeaway from today's deliberations. Thank you very much, and again, a very warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Amit Ghosh to give us the theme address.
And the lightning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this very unique conference at Calcutta. I myself have spent my life in the medical profession, and a section of me deals with a section of patients who are very elderly. I've also got a family whom I've serviced. My father died at the age of 89. My mother died at the age of 82 only a few years ago. I faced the challenges of family life from very close quarters. And I faced the challenges like a challenge. I realized many people are having difficulty facing this challenge. And it is from there was born this idea that we need to give dignity to the aged. We need to perform as young people of the society. We need to realize that aging is an inevitable part, though not as a mandatory a part as death. Whenever a man is born, he must die. Whenever a man is born, he will probably age. The chances are, if he doesn't die from an accident or some other mishap early in life, it is nearly inevitable. But the challenges it throws up is humongous. When I stayed in the United Kingdom for training and studies for good 12 years in my youth, the first thing that shocked me was the culture. The culture there was the elderly is taken care of by the government. There is a social fabric which doesn't deny elderly care, but the government fabric is the reality. India used to so long deliver this elderly care out of its traditional family background. Unfortunately, we have come to a situation where families have become nuclear. Situations and circumstances demand that the youth of India is migrating from one city to the other, from one country to the other, for satisfying their needs of education and employment. This combination of nuclear family, together with the crisis of getting trained and employed out of home, leaves the elderly in the lurch. Mind you, not only leaves the elderly in the lurch, leaves the elderly without any support, leaves the elderly without any support from any governmental care. It is not for us to blame the government. This is not a blame game. This is reality. And therefore, we have got so many conferences which addresses underprivileged children, physically handicapped, mentally challenged. We have got women empowerment. But I might pride Bengal Chamber in saying this is the first time in Calcutta we have organized something for the elderly. We want to deliver, saying that we care for the elderly. We have to think for the elderly. Time is ripe that we do, because the world is aging. Today we are standing at 12%. Very soon we feel that by the year 2015, this figure will rise to 22% of the world population. So it is not an insignificant number. Side by side, we need to realize, and please appreciate, aging today is a triumph of development. If healthcare and doctors and scientists did not deliver what they did in the past few decades, then this problem would never have arisen. We have become a victim of our own success in many ways. We cannot think negatively and say that healthcare is going to stop development. What we really need to do is, since aging is accepted to be a triumph of development, we must be also having the courage to face the challenges of aging as well. This is not something that when you're 60 or 70 or 80, you brush aside the problems under the carpet. Like when I first launched this program 6 months ago, I have no qualms in admitting people where I've approached, some of them have said, I really don't want to participate because they're all old people. Oh, buroder program e giye ki hobe? I abhor this attitude. I shun this attitude. And I think we should stand up and say, India represents advanced level of social development. We teach the world how to be social in society. We teach the West how to care for our brothers, sisters, fathers, and mothers, irrespective of their age. We owe to society whatever we've received from them. This is a chance we pay back to society by caring for the elderly. And therefore, it is our duty and compulsion that we care for the elderly. It has got far-reaching implications, elderly care. The challenges have to be met with newer developments and newer sciences that take care. For instance, the frail patient who is alone at home needs to be monitored, and technological advancement will actually let you monitor the care of the elderly from the remote places. But however, such conferences has got defined objectives. We need to think about access to healthcare in a better way. We need to take care of their security. We need to take care of their financial planning. And we need to, after all, every planning, we need to be bonded to them in a big way. I really do not want to be political and say whether Hok Olingon is right or wrong. I think whether Hok Olingon happens or not, Hok Bandhan between the youth and the elderly has to happen. And on that note, with this slogan that Hok Bandhan should be our motto, should be our target, and let us have Bengal Chamber campaign for this. Care for the elderly should be natural. Care for the elderly is Indian. Care for the elderly is something we should teach the West and not learn from the West. Hope you all the success for the whole day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We would now like to launch a booklet which we have prepared on the occasion of Royal Aging. Would request my dignitaries on the dais to formally launch the booklet. Can we have the stage mic on, please?
This is a small little booklet we have formed from the Bengal Chamber. This encompasses all support services of the old, which includes old age homes, assisted livings, any nursing facilities that we have, all the help at homes, and all the diagnostics and hospitals that have elder care, ambulances, hearses, and what have you. I thought to collate such a data is the first step that we can take to help the elderly so that you get all information at one go. Please collect your copy as you go out from the hall. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Mr. Pulak Chamaria, Director, Infinity Infotech Parks Limited, to give his address.
Omidda, Mr. Mukherjee, Dr. Mukherjee, Bengal Chamber, friends, thank you very much for having me. As Omidda said, we need to look about the Bandhan. Maybe I am that youngster in a crowd of senior people here. As Omidda said and Mr. Mukherjee said, we've had lots of challenges articulated which I don't need to delve into further. But basically, we have almost 100 million old age people today above the age of 60 in India, growing to 240 million by 2020. That is a huge number, and the needs required by these people and the kind of needs required are unbelievable. From the land of Tagore and Vivekananda and Paramhans, I really question what is really happening with the disruption and the developments in our land. And on the backdrop of that, Infinity conceived a CSR initiative, an old age home for the gold age home, for the gold age living, royal aging, so that we can provide dignity living for the old age people in Calcutta. So we've created a luxurious senior living facility which will be operational this year, coming up in Kolkata. It will be the first green certified building as a solution for the old age home and the old senior facility for people. And the idea is to create an ecosystem which addresses spiritual, emotional, intellectual, physical, and social needs of this community. I'd like to play a small video just to showcase our facility.
Our next talk will be by Professor Sukumar Mukherjee. Choosing Professor Sukumar Mukherjee to be our chief guest for this inaugural session was not an accident. It was not as though he was the most prominent physician, that's why we chose him. There were several reasons why we chose him. It is a fact of life that nearly 100% of the attendees here knows Professor Sukumar Mukherjee. That's a fact of life. The reason why, and it's also a fact of life, all the Amit Ghoshas of the world, most of the doctors earning a living now and delivering healthcare to West Bengal has been trained by Professor Sukumar Mukherjee. We are indebted to Professor Sukumar Mukherjee. That's the second point. The real point is, he has reached an age and a stage where he is delivering healthcare not to earn money, not as the livelihood, but for the love of the profession. It actually exemplifies the fact, whatever might be the media's version, healthcare by doctors is a passion. Doctors deliver healthcare not to earn money. Corporate hospitals have been born and bred to earn money. Doctors deliver healthcare out of passion. Doctors know how to give back to society what they have learned. Doctors deliver because they know they have to service the ill of the society. We are paying a tribute to the elderly through Professor Sukumar Mukherjee, the most eligible person to take on the stage today. Let us give a standing ovation to Professor Sukumar Mukherjee. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for accepting. Can I invite you, sir, for the inaugural address?
Good morning. Dr. Amit Ghosh, a student and peer in surgical profession and in Bengal Chamber of Commerce, Mr. A. Dev Mukherjee and Mr. Chamaria, distinguished guests, my seniors, my brothers and sisters. Today is a very auspicious day to me, and before I start, I must bow my head to my predecessors, to my parents, to my elderly patients, and to my teachers who have made me so that I am here in front of you to give a presentation on elderly care. Since my childhood, I had always a thought about the elderly people. I have seen in my family how they are outcasted. I have seen in the family in some of the events which reminds me that if I can be a doctor, I can also serve the people, not as a whole, but with particular respect to the elderly people. I know the aging is inevitable. All of you are aging every second, every minute, every day. We do not know how we reach the destination, but this is true how we make my journey fruitful, not for myself alone, but the society at large. It is important to remember the elderly care is most neglected, except in some fragments, except in some sections in city of Calcutta, where the people are doing a very well done job, well knit job in elderly care. I remember Indira is one of them. And in this occasion, we must also appreciate the contributions by different organizations in city of Calcutta to make the life of elderly a beautiful one. It was also thought that elderly people are no longer productive, no longer effective, no longer physically competent to deal with this. But I do object to this statement, and I do feel elderly people can be made productive, elderly people can be made more youthful, and elderly people can be, with their rich experience, wisdom, should be respected by all of us. And this is a sermon one should always follow. Elderly care is of supreme importance in our day-to-day care. We always think that elderly people are no good. And if you read the papers, you will find such awesome news how the elderly people are outcasted from their houses. Even in the big communities, it is there. And if you think the elderly people below the poverty line, it is an important issue today. In middle-aged life or middle-aged group, I find elderly people with empty homes. All their children abroad, all their children are serving elsewhere, and elderly people are living on their own. I have seen in my profession how elderly people are suffering from anxiety, depression, and even suicidal tendencies because they are alone. They have got the empty mind. And each and every individual, elderly or non-elderly, have got a physical body, have got a mental health, and have got the spiritual health. And the elderly age is the time to reorient your activities in the past, what you have done, to make a forward journey with some positive steps. And it is the society's responsibility to steer clear. These are the barriers which elderly people are suffering from. And so united effort should have been made by all of us. And it is our bounden duty who will look after the elderly, because I am also getting elderly, who will look after me. So under the situation and prevailing situation, and united efforts have to be made. I still believe that elderly people has got rich experience and wisdom which can be utilized in a proper way. And obviously physical health is being taken care of by cell killings in a hospital, but mental health, spiritual health, and they are well satisfied till they depart from the beautiful earth is an important part of the care. So holistic care in the elderly people is all that we needed, not only few prescriptions or few drugs, but in addition to that, who will look after the patient who had a brain injury? Who will look after the patients after a cardiac bypass? Who is already having a dialysis? And I think a social support is very important in day-to-day care of these people. And if you search their heart, they are empty in their heart. And that is the reason we doctors should play a motivated role, not to just prescribe drugs, but look in the mind of the elderly people who are suffering, which is often disclosed and which is not often disclosed. We have seen very pitiable scenes in my profession, in elderly people, how they suffer because they lack not only the money, they lack money and they lack the people around. And nowadays the people may have the money, but most of the people do not have a physical support. And this is some of the poultry situation what we find in elderly people. And these elderly people should be taken in a much more holistic way. Please remember, an elderly man has got a physical disease to the tune of 2 to 5. Mental health, deranged, and spiritual health is no question unless you have got the money to offer. So in this case, Bengal Chamber of Commerce has done a yeoman's job to bring it in forefront of the elderly care. And it is a royal aging which is most important. And Amit Ghosh's statement of royal aging is superb. I must congratulate Amit for a wonderful achievement and venture to bring this forum with a very topical subject, elderly care, holistic view, and do consider them as a part of the society and not they are non-productive in nature. With this, I wish this conference a grand success, and I must thank Mr. Mukherjee, Mr. Chamaria, and Dr. Amit Ghosh for bringing forward this concept of royal aging in a royal situation, but always think of the real ground realities, not question of giving lectures in the hotels, but actually performing in the society is much more important today. And thank you all for your conversation.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Ms. Neha Bagla to come up to the dais. Before we go for the formal vote of thanks of this session, we would like to show an AV which has been prepared by our senior living partner of this conference, the Golden Miles. Can I have the AV on, please?
The changing population and social dynamics have been well addressed by this short film by ICICI.
नमस्कार, मैं मिस्टर इंडिया बोल रहा हूं। क्या हुआ? मैं दिखाई नहीं दे रहा क्या? रुको एक सेकंड। हाँ, अब ठीक है। कितनी अजीब बात है ना, लाल रंग में तो आप मुझे देख सकते हैं और वैसे नहीं। कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि लाल रंग में मुझे देख पाने वाली चीज सिर्फ आपके मन में है, असलियत में नहीं? देखा, मैंने बोला था ना, कुछ ऐसा ही हमें लगता है जब बुढ़ापा, रिटायरमेंट, सीनियर सिटीजन ऐसे लफ्ज हमारी लाइफ में यूज होना शुरू हो जाते हैं। नहीं, मैं अपनी बात नहीं कर रहा हूं। दरअसल रिटायरमेंट अपने आप में ही एक बहुत ही खतरनाक शब्द है, क्योंकि सीनियर सिटीजन को ऐसा लगता है कि भाई रिटायरमेंट के आगे लाइफ में बचता ही क्या है? अकेलापन, बॉर्डम। अरे सर, लाइफ का मजा तो रिटायरमेंट के बाद ही शुरू होता है। यू बिकम अ सीनियर सिटीजन? वेल, जॉइन द क्लब। ये वो समय है जब इंसान अपनी उन इच्छाओं को पूरा कर सकता है जो काम की वजह से या अपने फैमिली प्रेशर की वजह से आज तक पूरी नहीं कर सका। लेकिन तब नहीं तो अब सही, आपकी एज खाली एक नंबर है और कुछ नहीं। ये वरीज, ये टेंशन सिर्फ आपके मन में है और कहीं नहीं। जिंदगी तो बहुत लंबी होती है मेरे दोस्त। आप रिटायर्ड सिर्फ अपने काम से होते हैं, जिंदगी से नहीं। So now here's the chance to start living your super second innings. Singing, playing the guitar, traveling, pursuing your passion. और ये तो शुरुआत है, असली यादें तो अब बनेंगी। और लाइफ होगी, क्या बोलते हैं उसे, एकदम झकास। कैसे? अपुन बताता है अपने सुपर सेकंड इनिंग्स की इंस्पायरिंग स्टोरीज या कोई यूनिक टैलेंट, एनीथिंग हमें भेजिए। And let the world know the real you.
Gone are the days of stereotype retirement thought. Come, make your retirement life the best part of your life. One for yourself only.
तो अब लाइफ के सेकंड इनिंग्स में रिटायरमेंट पे नहीं, एक्साइटमेंट पे ध्यान देने का।
Can we have a round of applause, please? May I request Neha to say a few words?
Hi everyone, good morning. I would first likely to thank BCCI for organizing such a good event for the senior citizen living. We at Salty Group are proud to introduce our senior citizen living project, basically to provide enjoyment in the golden phase of your life and providing the excitement to start our second chapter even after, going through the big problem of aging. Thank you.
Thank you. I would request Amit sir to give a formal vote of thanks to conclude this session.
premature to give thanks, but I think as a formality, I will first of all thank the audience. You're spending quality time. You're all elderly, and I think you are into your second innings. Thank you for coming, taking your time off, and gracing this occasion. Definitely, Professor Sukumar Mukherjee, a big thank you. From your busy schedule, you've taken this time to give it the right sort of weightage that we need, and it has been a great inspiration having you with us. Mr. Deb Mukherjee, our Vice President, has also given time and importance at his age, and that is exactly what I'm trying to exemplify, along with Mr. Chamaria and Ms. Bagla, that we are wanting to propagate the slogan Hok Bandhan. They are the young group. It is their responsibility to deliver care for the elderly. The problem lies with the elderly, but the challenge is with the youth. And so therefore, Hok Bandhan. Thank you.
We have a small task to perform now. We would like our chamber colleagues to come up on the dais and request Dev sir and Amit sir to hand over the mementos to our guests on the dais. To Dr. Sukumar Mukherjee. Thank you. To Mr. Pulak Chamaria. And thank you to Ms. Neha Bagla. With that, we end with our inaugural session. We are straight away hitting to our session 1, which is training for the caregivers. Oh, a photo opportunity, yes. Sir. Thank you. Please join us in the audience. May I now request Dr. Indrani Chakraborty, gerontologist and director, Calcutta Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology, to continue with the training session for the caregivers.